Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening up in the sky above us today. And today, happy birthday to my daughter. She turns 37 years old today. And hold on, somehow my video sound was on. Sorry about that. Anyway, good morning to everybody. Hopefully you're having a good morning. I am here this morning, but I really do not have all that much to share with you. Yay, right? It's a decently light day, but it was worth coming on to talk a little bit about some of the trouble spots that may occur. And they will be, if you have trouble that brews and shows up in your life today, it should be brief and something that just sort of you are able to move through, as likely it is something brought about by the moon. And as the moon changes, you will change as well. So let's chat about that for a minute. Today we have the moon in Aries. And as it is in Aries, we will have it in a sextile to Venus in retrograde. And then it will square Pluto retrograde. And then it will square Jupiter retrograde. And then much later in the day, maybe even not a blip on your screen, it will square Saturn. So we also, and sandwiched in between that is a void of course moon, as the moon slows down and begins to change signs from Aries into Taurus. And so the void of moon will be from 1:33 p.m. Pacific time to 7:11 p.m. Pacific time. So for you all on the East Coast, that doesn't happen until 4:33 this afternoon and to 10:11 p.m. tonight. So likely the void will be more effective for those of us that are further west, because it'll be partly during our work day if you're working. And if you're not working, it'll still affect your home day and how much you're able to get done during the day. And for those of you on the East Coast, likely this happens late enough in the day that it doesn't affect your work if you're working, and it likely won't affect too much. Maybe you'll have some interesting dreams this evening as the moon changes signs. So let's chat a bit about what it means to have the moon in Aries in a sextile to Venus retrograde. Well, Aries is a sign ruled by Mars, and so that takes us to action energy. So Mars energy is dynamic. It wants to move forward. When the moon is in Mars, it seems like the time is right to take action. And indeed, our emotional bodies require us to move forward in some way. And that is pretty much what we have on tap first thing this morning, as Venus in retrograde meets up in that sextile to the moon. So I'm sorry if I've confused you there, because I was talking about Mars, because Mars is the ruling sign, or ruling planet of Aries, while Venus is the body that the moon is going to be in a sextile with. Now remember, Venus is in retrograde in Gemini. So here we are in a process of reevaluating ideas. There may be, as in my case, this has happened to me already today and yesterday, things that I was thinking about doing from the past have shown back up in my life for me to take a look at, make sure it's in alignment with my values and is something that I want to take action on. Of course, I'm likely not going to take action until after the retrograde of Venus, but it is something that I want to take a look at. And it's interesting how it's coming back up for me from the past, which often happens with retrograde planets. Opportunities that you missed before, or for whatever reason didn't seem to be at the right time in the right place, or the right people lined up, come back during the retrograde. So we are having this opportunity today with the moon to maybe reevaluate some of those ideas and some of those things that we wanted to take action on. Now, remember, Aries is also a sign that is in a square to the energies in Capricorn. So a square being a 90-degree angle. It is a relationship that is sort of fraught with challenges and possible obstacles. And today we have the moon in Aries squaring two of the planets that are sitting in Capricorn, one Pluto, and next after that is Jupiter. And, you know, these two we've been through this, right? We go through this at least once a month while the moon moves fastest and it's moving through these different squares to the planets and different relationships it's having with the different planets. And with Pluto, we end up with a very emotional, deep sort of maybe even a time to reflect on some of the deeper issues in our lives, or just to be able to go into the depth and to process maybe something like an emotional wound, maybe an abandonment issue. It could be almost literally anything, but you may be faced with something that you have to be able to push out of your sphere, something in order to be able to move forward, you have to let go of, or you have to process your way through. And the moon in a square to Pluto will help us to do that. While not comfortable, for some of you, it might not be comfortable at all. It might be totally alien to you, this idea of processing. It is something that if you do and you do it well, you just move through these different emotional impulses as they come through. And you find yourself, getting through some of the worst possible kinds of beliefs or patterns that you have set up in your life. Remember, we've been in this destruction phase. And now, if we're going to be able to reconstruct, what do you have to let go of or move through in order to reconstruct your life in a really positive direction? Then we have the square to Jupiter in retrograde right after that. Jupiter in retrograde, remember, is pulling us inward for growth on the inner works, on the inner planes, and a more strong connection perhaps to spirit or to your beliefs, to maybe let go of any places where you have old self-righteous sort of fundamental beliefs about the universe that you can, move out of your way and just open up your mind to. But remember, the moon and Jupiter sometimes can trigger us to go too far, too fast, or if, a little bit of this feels good or tastes good, then let's have the whole of it, right? So proportion is another issue that we may be dealing with later in the day. And indeed, that is the aspect that we're left with from the time the moon moves into retrograde till the time it breaks its retrograde. So a good 6 hours or so of Jupiter in a square to the moon, or the moon in a square to Jupiter. And it's interesting because I think sometimes, it can be feeling really good too. The square to a benefic planet can often feel like there's this glimmer of hope and optimism out there. And it can tend to push us into the future, where we are more interested about what happens next as opposed to what's happening in the moment. So don't forget to enjoy every moment of the day, even if Pluto has you sort of looking backward to the past, while Jupiter wants us to go, further into the future and to see what things might look like after the pandemic is over, or what, how's this going to look, or how's that going to be. So rather than doing that, try to be right here in the moment, and that is where all the juiciness is happening. Now, also something that I'm not as familiar with today, but I think we're going to feel is going to be the moon in a conjunction to the goddess of discord, Eris. So Eris, for most of us, is sitting at about 24 degrees of Aries at the moment. And the moon was at 23 degrees of Aries this morning when I drew the chart. So it's already creating. She's already stirred the pot in my household this morning. And I have since moved through that pot stirring, and now I'm feeling better about it. But if you've gotten your pot stirred this morning, or some discord erupted in your life, you can thank Eris for that, as she does not like stagnant energy. So wherever things are not quite right, they're not morally and I hate to use that word, let's say ethically in alignment with who you are, then that is where things are going to come up to the surface for correction, for us to bring back into balance in our lives. She's very active, actually, in the sign of Aries. And I know she was in Aries in my own natal chart. And so there's a sort of rebellion that comes up with her. So we may have some rebellious feelings today. We may want to go against the grain and do things that we know we're not supposed to, or that, feel too limiting to us. So with this one, just sort of be on the lookout for a behavior like that today. You may be able to see, oh, that is exactly what I'm doing, and bring a stop to it. But other people out there may not, and they can be, of course, the stirrers of the pot for you, as they cannot seemingly control themselves, or they're out of control. The best bet here is to not even try to bring things under control, just to realize, okay, I'm backing off out of the situation. I'm letting that discord go. And it may take some time to do it, because the moon in Aries is also very irritable, and sometimes likes conflict, right? It likes that emotional upheaval. So we might want to watch ourselves today, particularly in that void of course time, because remember, we're left with that Jupiter. Almost everything that happened before the Jupiter square with the moon is also hanging with us. So the Venus retrograde square or sextile, the conjunction to Eris, the Pluto square, and then the Jupiter square, they're still there. The effects of those transits are still there. So if we go into that void with that kind of irritation, then likely through that whole 6-hour period of time until the mood shifts, you may be feeling like you're hanging with that upset or that discord. So what do we do when we have that? What is the antidote to all of this discord? It is anything that you know of that brings you peace. So that might mean some aromatherapy. It might mean some physical things like meditation or yoga. It might mean taking a walk. Whatever it is that you do that helps you move through that conflict or discord, diving into a book maybe, or even diving into the gene keys and just studying who you are, whatever it is that does that for you, that is the thing for you to do. Then about 7:30, well, 7:11 p.m., 10:11 p.m. for those of you on the East Coast, the mood will shift, not necessarily for the better, as the moon then comes into a square with Saturn. And Saturn, as you know, brings us into, with the moon, brings us into that melancholic place. For, like I said, most of you on the East Coast, this is happening in the evening time. You may already be prepared for bed. Maybe you're already asleep when this happens, and it may play out in your dreams or in the night for you. For those of us further west you go, this is happening in the evening time, but before you would go to bed. So you may just be wanting to go to bed early. You may feel a little lethargic, or just feeling tired or undone. I usually just say, I'm done. I'm so done with the day. And usually that is when I just go turn on something good on TV, or I just sit with my games or my new art projects that just make me feel like my focus is on something that isn't the troubles of the day. So it's not a bad day, certainly at all. I would never characterize it as that, but it might be a day of some ups and downs emotionally. It might be a day of some conflict, both inner and likely that's where I see the conflict may come up, is inner, because remember, these are retrograde planets that the moon will be connecting with today. All of them, in fact, except, is Eris? No, Eris is not in retrograde, but Venus, Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn are all in retrograde. So likely some trigger in the outer world happens that pulls this inner dynamic into play. So you may really truly believe today that it's something in your outer world that's caused an issue for you, when in reality it's something on the inner planes that you need to square with or work through. So hopefully that is good news for some of you. Some people like me, I love to process through things. I don't necessarily love the feelings of disruption or conflict, or irritability, but I do like to go, what is happening for me, and why is this showing up? So let's see who is out here this morning. I see Amy. Good morning. And Amy, by the way, wanted to, she has started a new YouTube channel where she's going to be doing tarot readings and talking about tarot cards. So Amy, if you want to share that in the chat here for people to go and subscribe to her channel if you're interested in that, or to like her videos, you can help her get her channel up and off the ground, and help her align her energy to where her heart and her soul is, which is in doing tarot readings. And so Amy Moore, I invite you to share that this morning here in YouTube, and I invite all of you as listeners to go check it out. Good morning, Debbie Hedden. Marissa, good morning. Debbie Johnson. Amanda, good morning. Jennifer Peachy, good morning. Amy, good to see you this morning. J-Lo, grand solar rising to you as well. Mimi, good morning. Libra Leo, hello from France. I'm Stephanie. Well, welcome, Stephanie. It's great to have you with us today. I always love it when new people join us. And you can share some information about yourself if you want. Let us know what sign you are or what draws you to astrology. Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, good morning. Debbie sent me this lovely necklace and earrings for my birthday. So I wore them today, Debbie, hoping that you would show up so you could see them. And thank you so much. Amy and Amanda says, I'm wondering if this is why I've been feeling super grouchy. Trust me when I say this morning I started out grouchy right from the moment I got up, and it has since shifted. So I'm really happy about that. But it took me drying my hair and talking to myself and moving through whatever the feelings were that I had, being willing to not throw it out there to other people in my life, but to work through whatever it was that was the source. And when I say these things to you, I mean, I really do this. When I'm triggered for something, I am often working through it on my own because I don't really necessarily need to. I mean, I'm not going to say I never, grouch out loud, because I do, but I then am also looking inward going, what does this mean for me? What am I reacting to? Because then I'm in reaction as opposed to responding. And it is that reaction that I need to look for, because that's the call to go deeper and to do maybe some more meditation work or just to process whatever it is that I'm feeling. So that shifted for me very quickly this morning. Thank you to the moon, who moves through things very quickly. But sometimes you still have to sit with that for a bit and go, okay, I get it. What's going on here? Let's see, if I can go deeper. So anyway, emotional impulse, Libra Leo says, oh, so we've got this, that you're a Leo, right? So tough the last 24 hours. Indeed. The last 24 hours actually haven't been too bad. But when the moon is in Aries, we do tend to have a lot of stuff come up to the surface, and conflict stuff. And it may not even be your own things. It could be people outside of you that are reacting to that energy themselves. And of course, if they're in your world, then you're like, oh dear, what is this? Why are you being like this? Why are you angry? Why are you upset? And it can affect you. So again, it's always about what's going on with me. If it is theirs, then the best thing you can do is just hold the space for them to go through whatever it is they're going through without becoming emotionally reactive yourself. And then when that shifts, then you can come back together and know at least that you didn't participate in the conflict. J-Lo, yes, it has brought me inward, and I have to pause not to get too into it. Indeed, don't get into other people's stuff, right? Your business, my business, and God's business. And you are not responsible for other people's reactions. Good morning, Kamal. It's great to see you. Mimi says good morning to everybody. Ursula, a square can offer us a wall to bounce off of or splat into. I love that, Ursula. That's a great way to put that. And Libra Leo, Stephanie is saying her sun is at 25 Libra. And Kamal says, lovely good morning to everybody. Mimi says, yes, Eris in natal Aries, retrograde, 12th house. And that's an interesting placement for Eris. Ursula yesterday shared with me a link to a gentleman that has been doing some work on Eris. Now, Ursula, thank you so much for sharing that, but I did not get an opportunity yesterday to really check that out. But I think I will go do that this afternoon. And if it's something that I find really interesting, then I will bring that back up for everybody and share that. In the meantime, Eris, she's that goddess of discord, right? And she brings up that stuff, the kettle, the cauldron. She's bringing it up to the surface for us to move through and to work with. So Laura Hammer, good morning to you. Cornelia, good morning. Thank you very much. Emotional processing is key, free technique for your folks. Cornelia, I invite you to put your link here in the chat so people can do that, because she does have a very well done website with links to free processing techniques. So if you're being triggered by any of the core wounds that we have, or by the things that you're interpreting from your outer world, her technique can help you move through that very quickly. J-Lo, now I understand why my Leo has been off kilter. Yeah. Libra Leo, yes, it was people, not me, but couldn't react. I cried. Thank you. I'm studying astrology and really like your style. Worried because of Pluto and others squaring to my sun. I totally get that. And you know what ensues with Pluto coming into contact like that with other planets in your chart is often power struggles. And power struggles are really something that we get drawn into often because they're places where we hold a wound, or there's places where we've relegated a part of us to the dark or to the underworld, if you will. And so tendency is to bring that up, because the only way to heal a wound, the only way for us to become whole, healed, and healthy is to actually address those wounds. And a Pluto transit like that, while not comfortable, isn't always going to be uncomfortable, by the way. It tends to stir up things, and then you have this time to move through it, and then it goes back into the dark, and then something else may come up that's related to it. So it's not like a Mars or Uranus thing that happens all the time, or happens, with a shock. It's more subtle than that, but also more demanding of your time and your attention. So I wouldn't be worried, because worry is only going to draw that more of that, what you don't want, to you. So being okay with going through it as it pops up, and remembering that if you're getting into a power struggle, what are you struggling for, or what are you struggling against? And then you can release yourself from that struggle. Good morning, Natasha. We haven't seen you in a long time. That's awesome to see you. She says, good morning. May the feeling of love be with all in their daily lives. I love it. Good morning, Elisa. J-Lo says, Eris is 13 degrees in the 11th. Now I am learning to tame my own ocean. I love that. And guess what? Eris discord is often going to play out by other people in your life, perhaps your friends or the people that you have in your networks. That type of situation may trigger that Eris discord. Or on the other hand, the 11th house is also a house where we build our dreams or our vision, and where we set goals and we move forward to those goals. And you may find that as you step forward on your path, that there are things that disrupt your progress. And I think the purpose of that would be to make you really sure that you're on the path for you, you're moving in the right direction, and that anything that you are using as an obstacle is dealt with before you move further. And sometimes that is going to be other people, or a friend, someone in your network. And other times it may just be a situation. So you get to move through all of that. Libra Leo, thanks so much. The other thing is, J-Lo, that just occurred to me for you, is that you may also be in a very bright spot to help others who are going through discord in their own lives. You have sort of a no-nonsense style there that could really be helpful for people who want to go into that emotional depth and, get stuck in that pity potty. You can help bring them out of that. So I hope that's helpful for you. Okay, I'm going to head back over here to Zoom and take a look now at what is coming up next. Today we are in the Pleiadian-Earth day 6, which is all about flow, and in Transcending Energy, which in the Mayan calendar was Kimi, and it was the representation of the skull or the vulture. Often it was the hieroglyph that represented transcending energy. It was about the process of moving through death and rebirth, transcending those things that have held us back, or transcending those things that are no longer worthwhile. And it's interesting because, as you know, right now, the day energy, the universal energy of the day, the 6, and the day energy, or the earth energy of the day, they're in alignment right now, right? They're walking in lockstep through this week of our evolution in consciousness. So the 6 representing flow helps us, quote from Pia and Cullen, develops, refines, improves itself as it contacts and interacts with other energies in the universe. So as we are coming into contact with one another today, and as we're coming into contact with these various situations in our lives, this 6 energy of flow helps us move through this experience. And we are in a process of refining ourselves or redefining ourselves as we move forward. Remember, 6 energy It's like a water in a river that is free to flow over the rocks, around the rocks, under the rocks. And so we have this opportunity to flow. This is an energy that transcends conflict by blending or merging energies, the opposites. So if you're seeing something that is opposite of you, blending or bringing in some of those energies, integrating, not so that you change, but so you can transcend your objection to those energies, to blend all of this and see the bigger picture or the bigger whole. This is a really good day for movement. Get out and walk, go swimming, do whatever it is that you can do to move your body and to keep the energy moving. Now, transcending energy specifically is about moving forward and forgetting all of that baggage and the grievances and all of the emotional stuff that's hanging around your neck like an albatross, right? Letting those things go and trusting in what is opening up for you. And, we're sitting here very close to the new moon on Friday. That new moon occurs, 10:39 in the morning on Friday for us on the West Coast. So we're very close to being able to initiate a new beginning, to walk into a new world. What does that mean for you personally, right? So here's your personal chance to transcend whatever it is that you cannot take with you into that new future or into that new beginning. What is no longer serving you, right? What is no longer true of your expression in the world, or what will no longer help you make that expression out into the world? So this brings up an interesting dichotomy here, if you will, in that what we're learning with the energy of transcending is to be in discernment rather than in judgment. Because if you're looking at opposites and you're trying to blend and merge energies, the first thing that we tend to want to do is to judge the other energy or the other person or the other belief system or the other party, whatever it is. And indeed, in this energy, judgment takes us into the negative, where discernment, where we perceive by our senses or our intellect, we distinguish mentally what the differences are, and we learn to value the differences, right? We don't have to become the difference. We just learn to value all of that, as opposed to judgment, which is where an opinion is formed. And we know about opinions, right? Opinions, we don't share opinions except with an invitation. We also understand that opinions are not truth. They are not facts. They are just opinions. So a judgment is about an opinion formed, where discernment is a perception by our intellect that allows us to see and blend and value all of the differences that are around us as distinct, as useful, as beautiful, as worthy, and not to judge them as other or not good or not mine, that kind of thing. So I hope that's helpful. It's an interesting day today, I think. These energies of crazy sort of emotional triggers on one side, and on the other side, this ability for us to transcend all of that and to flow through, around, above, over, under, you name it. Okay, I'm gonna head back to YouTube because that's basically all I really have to share today. Luckily for all of us, I mean, some people may be dealing with some real emotional things today, but for the most part, it is a fairly easy day. There are no new contacts being made by any of the other planets. Not so tomorrow. The sun will move into Gemini tomorrow morning. That changes up the energy a bit, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. Let me look for questions. Eris is retrograde in Aries in my 12th too, Amanda J says. So my first inclination when I hear anything about the 12th house is that you're digging deep, right? You're going into the cave, you're going into the unconsciousness, the subconscious mind. And in that subconscious mind is where the patterns are that have been pushing you through your life, as opposed to you being aware of them. So this might be an opportunity for you at times, through the discord that might occur in your outer world or even in your inner world, for you to look at the beliefs and the patterns that sit below the surface within you. And that may not always be comfortable, but the more that you uncover, the more whole you become. So that 12th house can be a friend, but at other times it can also be where there's self-sabotage going on, where you don't see yourself clearly, and you want to be able to put yourself in a position of being able to dig deep and to release whatever isn't working, whatever's not true for you anymore. Augustina, good morning. Debbie Hedden says, this is so helping me this morning. My 13-year-old granddaughter is arguing with her dad, and this is helping me explain things to her. Yes, awesome. J-Lo, yes, I try and keep my girls positive, and those also on my Facebook by posting positive quotes. Brenda Gagnon, good morning to you. She says, good morning, family. It is great to see you, Brenda. So, Debbie, I want to go back to this. So your 13-year-old granddaughter arguing with her dad, and it's probably over something small, something that one or the other of them feel is of real importance to them. And this is a great opportunity for you to help her understand how to be in response as opposed to in reaction to what is happening in her world with her father. And even with the dad, for him to be in response able, as opposed to being in reaction as well. So great opportunity for you to be there in the presence there. And remember, being a reflector, Debbie, you also see all of the sides, right? So you could probably very much feel her pain, her wound, or her upset, as well as feeling his. And maybe that puts you in a good position to be the mediator if possible, or to at least help her be able to understand how to become more emotionally responsible, right? Using emotionally intelligent, becoming more emotionally intelligent. So, and 13, that's a perfect age to start learning this, right? As she goes into her teenage years and faces a lot of different upsets and turmoil over those next few years. So, all right, guys, really, literally, that is it for me this morning. I almost had a blank page at one point, but it's kind of nice, right? The last couple of weeks have been really strenuous with Mercury meeting up with every planet, including the sun, and carrying new messages and ideas, and that upsets our balance and our harmony sometimes in our minds. So it's kind of nice to have this break. Tomorrow, when I come on air, we'll be talking about the sun in Gemini and what that means, because we also have Venus retrograde in Gemini, and we have Mercury moving through Gemini right now, and he is the ruler of that sign. So it seems to me we have the next several weeks worth of great ideas and a realignment, and following our communication style changing perhaps, or following our new ideas into new territory, working on some new things. Remember, the nodes have also backed their way into Gemini, the North Node. So we're seeing a new facet of who we could be. And that is sort of fun to play with. And as I look at that, I go, right? Because we're now darn close to that North Node being on top of the galactic center. And it makes me wonder, like, what new info is coming to us from the cosmos, and how can we become more cosmically aligned rather than just, human aligned. We need to be that too. But, what would help us be more cosmically attuned, and keep your mind open on that as new things come in, new recognition, maybe new voices, new things, just new, right? Okay, that is it for me this morning. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much, Brenda. Thank you all for being here. It was great to see you. Don't forget to go check out Amy Moore's YouTube channel, and check out Cornelia Stephanie's website for the emotional technique, or emotional processing technique. And since my friend Amy was also out here this morning, go check her out as well. I shared with you the 30-day meditation course that she was doing. It was free. It is free. I think you could probably still join into that. And her website is Amy Patty at P-A-T. I'm going to type it. Why say it when I know it's easy for everybody to get that? There we go. And CorneliaStephanie.com. And Amy Moore, you would have to look and find her her YouTube channel, and hopefully she shared that link in here. All right, guys, take care. Have a wonderful day. Remember, if you get triggered, it's your responsibility. So you work with whatever it is that has been that trigger and don't blurp it out there on other people. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Love to everybody. Bye for now.